Discover the amazing journey of a brave pilot. Heartwarming triumph against a 100-drone swarm. Adam stood in the doorway of his flying school, the sun casting a golden hue over the rolling cornfields of Maplewood. For 50 years, he had chased dreams in the skies, teaching others how to conquer the wind. But now, with a heavy heart, he watched as the distant horizon flickered with the promise of drones, machines that threatened to steal the thrill of flight from his beloved school. He trembled at the thought. Would the town choose soulless gadgets over the sheer joy of soaring through the clouds in a small plane? "I wish I could show everyone what it's like up there, Dad," his daughter Lily muttered beside him, her eyes filled with determination. At just 16, she had a wisdom beyond her years. Lily believed fiercely in the magic of personal flight, the kind only a human could connect with, the wind in their hair and the sun on their faces. "You can't give up now!" Every day was a battle against an unseen enemy. Adam's heart felt weighed down by uncertainty and doubt. The local buzz about the upcoming drone exhibition echoed in his mind, a spectacular event flaunting technology that promised precision and speed. He could almost hear the whispers of neighbors who would choose the unpredictability of traditional flying when drones offered convenience at a lower price. The progress of modernity pressed heavily against his chest, a tight knot of insecurity tightening with each new piece of gossip. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Days turned into weeks, and the exhibition drew near. Adam prepared meticulously, struggling against rising waves of self-doubt. In the quiet of his classroom, he relived memories of his service, the losses, the battles fought. The specter of inadequacy lingered. Was he failing as a father, a teacher, a mentor? Memories of his students' parents, now second-generation learners, chased him like ghosts, reminding him of the trust placed in him. Yet in a bittersweet moment with Lily as they reviewed the old photographs of him teaching her to fly, their laughter echoed through the hangar, peeling away layers of despair. "Let them see what real flying feels like, Dad," she implored, hope sparkling in her eyes. A glimmer ignited inside Adam, a flicker of the old flame refusing to be snuffed out. Finally, the day arrived. An electric atmosphere filled the air. Adam felt tension building in his chest, fighting against the roar of drone engines that filled the skies. His heart raced as he positioned his small plane on the runway, the breath of the wind brushing against his face. Just as he readied himself, a gust knocked the craft momentarily off balance, sending a shiver of fear through him. Questions loomed. Could he still reclaim the joy of flying in this age of machines? With his hands gripping the controls, adrenaline surged through him. The crowd beneath him murmured in anticipation, breath held tight as he prepared for liftoff, a moment of vulnerability morphing into something greater. With every push of the throttle, Adam sensed that this flight, this very moment, might just reignite a bond that flying had always connected. Would the hearts of Maplewood remember him, not just as their instructor but as a passionate pilot eager to soar once more? The stage was set, the chance to reclaim his legacy awaited. As the engine roared to life beneath him, Adam felt an electric charge ripple through his veins. The world faded away, the worries, the whispers. All that remained was the plane, the runway, and the sky waiting above. He tightened his grip on the yoke, the familiar chill of anticipation sparkled in his chest, waking a long-buried excitement. Slowly, he began to accelerate down the runway, feeling the vibrations beneath him, each bump a reminder of every lesson he had ever shared with his students. Lily stood at the edge of the runway, her face lit with unwavering pride. He could see her cheering, her arms raised high, each motion a further push towards the sky. "You can do this, Dad!" she shouted, and her support anchored him firmly to the earth while pulling him toward the clouds. With each second, he gained speed. The horizon blurred, a streak of blue sky transitioning to the concrete of reality. The moment came, a breathless heartbeat. With a gentle pull, he lifted off, breaking through the limitations of the Earth. The feeling of being airborne enveloped him, a sensation as fresh and intoxicating as the first time he had taken flight. It didn't matter that the drones hovered nearby. This was his space, his moment, an affirmation that traditional flying still held power. The drone exhibition unfolded beneath him, a cluster of colorful machines buzzing like disciplined bees. They sped gracefully, a choreographed dance of technology. But Adam's small plane embodied passion and rebellion. He soared higher, banking sharply to embrace the clouds. The rush of wind filled his cockpit, drowning out the mechanical whir of the drones. He felt free, a warrior against an army of circuits and metal, reclaiming his space. As he climbed higher, he remembered his students, bright-eyed and eager for flight. The memories flooded him, faces of those he'd taught fluttering in his mind like the papers he filled with their dreams and goals. That community spirit fueled him, a reminder of the legacy he was crafting, not just as a teacher, but as a mentor, something more than just living in the shadows of modernity. He maneuvered through the air, performing loops and rolls, showcasing the agility of human skill against the rigid formations of the drones below. The crowd erupted with cheers. He could see them pointing, their faces lit up with astonishment, a blend of awe and nostalgia. Could they see what he saw? The dance between man and machine, the elegance of human instinct amidst technological advancement? It was a powerful metaphor for life itself. Sometimes, you just had to rise above the noise. Then, as he flew overhead, a massive swarm of drones shifted abruptly. With synchronized precision, they began to fill the space he needed for a safe return to the ground. Adam's heart raced as he realized they were about to collide. Panic washed over him, but pure instinct kicked in. Could he dance with the drones? The thought startled him, but adrenaline pulsed through his veins with a call to innovation. He would show them. He would make the flight mesmerizing not only for himself but for everyone watching, from the child with wide eyes to the seasoned pilots reminiscing days gone by. He took a breath, steadying himself, and began to weave through the drones, his plane a flash of humanity among the buzzing machines. But as he engaged in this breathtaking ballet, a sudden malfunction echoed through the cockpit. A warning light flashed ominously. It was a message he couldn't ignore, a reminder of his vulnerability even in triumph. The crowd gasped as he spun closer to the growing chaos. Would he be able to navigate out of this one? The resolution hung in the sky like clouds heavy with rain, and he realized that the true battle was only just beginning. Would he ground himself in reality or push forward, embracing the unexpected twists that lay ahead? The answer lingered in the air, a challenge waiting to be met. The cockpit hummed with a melody of alarms, each beep striking a note of urgency. Adam's heartbeat matched the rhythm, a fast tempo filled with fear and determination. He glanced at the warning light flashing like a neon sign screaming for his attention. The drones swarmed around him, a whirlwind of machinery designed with precision, while his plane felt like a vulnerable leaf caught in a tempest. His mind raced. What were his options? The altitude he had gained began to feel like a double-edged sword. Some instinct urged him to climb higher, invoking the memories of every lesson he'd ever taught, every moment spent in the cockpit. But he was up against a swarm that belonged to the future. The thought of crashing dashed through him, icy and consuming. He couldn't let that happen. Focus, Adam. You've battled worse than this, he whispered to himself, channeling the wisdom of 100 flights. He adjusted the throttle while steadying his grip, keenly aware of every drone's movement around him. He took a deep breath, feeling the familiar calm wash over him as memories of Lily's cheers filled his thoughts. She needed to see him conquer this moment. He didn't just have to survive, he needed to rise above. That fiery drive sparked again, igniting courage throughout his body. He knew he couldn't merely react, he had to anticipate. Adam recalled the maneuverability that defined his craft. His plane could dance too, even among the buzzing enemies. Shifting gears, he spiraled downwards, dropping below the overtaking mass of drones, the vibrations of his plane rippling through him. Suddenly, the chaotic patterns of the drones shifted. They began to fan out, creating slight openings, their algorithms seemingly miscalculating his human unpredictability. He saw his chance and darted through the gaps, deftly adjusting his trajectory like a bullet seeking out its target. With each twist and turn, the noise of the drones faded, swallowed by the sheer thrill of survival. The cheers from below fueled him, wrapping around him like a blanket of hope. As he wove through the chaos, Adam's eyes found the horizon. The sunlight broke through the thickening clouds, illuminating his path with shimmering golden rays. In that moment, he became more than just a pilot. He felt like a symbol of the human spirit thrust against the cold, unyielding advancements of modern technology, a voice declaring that passion and instinct matter just as much as data and calculations. Just as he started to feel the exhilaration of victory, another malfunction warning blared, sending a jolt of dread through him. Had he pushed too hard? Would his instincts betray him now? The clouds below churned ominously, threatening to swallow him whole. His mind raced again. He couldn't afford to falter. Suddenly, he was in an unexpected death spiral. The ground rushed closer. Gasps from the crowd merged into a wave of anxiety that washed over him. Time stretched. What if he didn't pull out in time? What would happen to Lily? No, he couldn't let that fear drive him. He couldn't let the moment slip away. With a surge of determination, Adam fought against the pull, hands tightening around the yoke, muscles straining as he willed himself upwards. He groaned, pushing against the very forces trying to bring him down. The ground stopped its relentless approach, and the aircraft crested, barely veering away from disaster. The roar of the crowd echoed in the back of his mind, and a wave of triumph surged through him. But even as hope ignited anew, he realized the fight was far from over. The drones hadn't given up. They regrouped, thicker now, coming together like an impenetrable wall of buzzing metal. What would he do next? Could he outshine both the swarm and his own trepidation? The storm was brewing, and Adam was running out of time. Would he embrace the danger ahead, or allow it to consume him? The stakes were high, and the outcome uncertain. The cockpit vibrated with a renewed intensity. Adam's heart pounded like a drum, quickening as he assessed his predicament. The looming wall of drones was no longer just a squadron. It felt like an army closing in, each shiny metallic surface glinting menacingly in the sunlight. A creature of logic and design, their movements synchronized like clockwork, leaving little room for error. He fought to keep his focus. Each second stretched excruciatingly slower than the last. This was no longer just a battle of machine against man. It was an encounter of spirit versus sheer calculation. "You can't let them have the last word," he muttered, channeling any strength he could muster. He needed to think. His gut told him to trust his instincts. Adam remembered something, a trick he learned long ago in the early days of his training. Sometimes, the best defense is an unpredictable offense. He rolled the plane, banking sharply to the left, darting toward an opening, praying it would lead him to safety. The drones responded, diving towards him with alarming speed. They were adapting quickly, but Adam felt that unpredictability on his side. He grinned, a wild thrill surging through him. "Let us dance," he shouted into the empty cockpit. He pulled back on the yoke, the plane responding perfectly as he soared up and over the encroaching swarm. For just a moment, he felt like he was flying free. The rush of adrenaline was electric. But the moment was short-lived. The drones regrouped again, recalibrating and rushing towards him, a wave of precision that sent tingles of danger coursing through his spine. He couldn't afford to overthink it. Heart racing, he flicked switches, setting targets for his evasive maneuvers. He dropped once more, spiraling to escape their targeting systems. The world outside was a blur of color and chaos, but his focus remained sharp. He was a pinball in an arcade game, flinging against walls of metal, just praying to survive. The intensity tightened around him, but he found a rhythm. His body moved with the aircraft. With each passing moment, the crowd below became a symphony of cheers, an orchestra of hope echoing in the canyon of his mind. They believed in him, their voices were a lifeline. He took a deep breath, recalling Lily's face, her eyes bright with faith. That thought grounded him, reminding him of what he was fighting for. It gave him clarity amidst the chaos. Then, from the corner of his eye, he caught a shimmering flicker among the clouds. It formed a gap. If he could access it before the swarm realigned, it could be his chance to break free. The opening was small, but he had to try. He adjusted the throttle, pushing the limits of his aircraft to the max as he dove deeper. As he emerged into the clearing, a moment of pure exhilaration flooded through him. He had made it. But just as quickly, a jolt of panic surged. The primary systems began to flicker. The alarms blared again, screaming warnings as the drones bore down on him with renewed fury. This was over. Could he really navigate through the chaos without losing control again? What would it cost him? And even if he escaped, what damage would it do to the hope of a safe return to his family? As fear trickled back into his heart, Adam realized he was about to make the biggest decision of his life. He took a breath, heart pounding with resolve, knowing the moment would define not just the mission, but who he was. He wasn't just a pilot anymore. He was a symbol of hope. With his eyes locked on the towering clouds ahead, he pushed his plane into another maneuver, chasing both freedom and fate. Was this the leap that would save him, or would the storm consume everything he held dear? The drone swarm closed in, a menacing cloud that darkened the horizon. Adam gripped the controls, his knuckles white. He could feel the heat radiating from the cockpit, the metallic smell of fear mingling with the oil and fuel. The alarms blared, each one a reminder of the stakes. He was a man alone in the skies, battling not just an enemy, but his own doubts. Come on, Adam. Think, he urged himself, fighting against the rising tide of panic. The flickering lights on the dashboard were a chorus of warnings that made it hard to focus, but he had been trained for this. He just had to keep moving, keep outsmarting them. As the drones darted toward him, he remembered what his instructor once said, in chaos, find your center. He took a moment, just a heartbeat, to breathe. Inhale, counting to 3, exhale, counting to 3. The world outside the cockpit spun, yet inside, he found a sliver of calm. The gap ahead was narrowing. It was now or never. Adam pushed the throttle forward, feeling the engine roar in response. The plane surged ahead, a burst of speed that matched the ferocity of his heartbeat. He could hear the drones whirring, a sound that made his skin crawl. They were relentless, and they were learning. Keep it unpredictable, Adam, he muttered, recalling the impromptu dance he had executed moments before. He suddenly rolled the plane, dodging a sudden barrage of laser-light fire from the nearest drone. The bullets whizzed past him like a swarm of angry hornets. Sweat trickled down his forehead, mixing with the salt of his determination. The drones adjusted, their formation shifting like a living thing. They were trying to flank him, and he could see the gap in the clouds beginning to fade. His mind raced, formulating a desperate plan. He would have to dive lower, take the fight to them. He aimed for the valley below, a swooping descent that would let him weave through the narrow passes between rocky outcroppings. As he plunged, the ground rushed up to meet him, and for a moment, he felt as though he were flying straight into the mouth of a beast. The rush of the wind roared in his ears, but there was no turning back now. The drones followed, their coordinated movements almost graceful. Adam could feel their heat bearing down on him, like icy fingers grazing his neck. But just as he neared a jagged canyon, an unexpected burst of inspiration hit him. He yanked the yoke to one side, sending the plane into an upward barrel roll, emerging just above the canyon's edge with seconds to spare. As he soared through the narrow openings, he glanced down at the crowd beyond, faces turned upward. Fear and hope mingled in the air. They believed in him. The thought infused him with renewed strength. This wasn't just a mission, it was his life, his family, and the embodiment of every silent prayer they had uttered for him. They were counting on him. Yet, as relief began to settle in, something more deadly caught his eye, a flash from behind. The drones had anticipated his move after all. He swerved, barely missing a direct hit, the force rattling the cockpit. Adam's heart leaped into his throat. It was a dance with destiny, and the music was about to change dramatically. Would he evade this final onslaught, or was fate ready to play a deadly hand? As Adam felt the plane shudder, he pushed forward, determination igniting like a flare within him. He clenched his jaw, focusing on survival. Time to show them what I'm made of, he whispered, gripping the controls tighter. But as the next wave approached, he noticed something unexpected among the drones. A flicker of uncertainty, a stutter in their precision. What could it mean? His instincts told him he was on the brink of an unexpected opportunity. As he readied himself for this crucial moment, he pondered whether this would be the breakthrough he needed or just another trap in the making. The air thickened with tension as he prepared for what lay ahead. The drones surged closer, the whirring sound intensifying, mingling with the roar of Adam's engine. Sweat dripped down his back as his heart thudded in his chest. He had to get ahead of them before they could regroup and unleash a coordinated strike. With every second counting down, his instincts screamed at him to act. Now! He shouted, steering the plane into a sharp left turn. The intricate ballet of the drones shifted as they attempted to realign. Adam's mind raced. The flicker he had seen was a mirage. There was a hint of something unusual in their formation. Maybe they were overconfident. Maybe they were malfunctioning? Whatever the case, it was now or never. His eyes darted to the blinking light on his dashboard. It was time to use the terrain to his advantage. He dipped the nose of the plane down, eyes scanning for a split-second opening he could exploit. The magnificent valley stretched below him like a long ribbon, patches of bright green and brown, a stark contrast to the metallic gray of the drones. He felt a surge of adrenaline. He remembered all too well that glimpse of the crowd below. The faces that had once been blurry now sharpened into focus in his mind. He was fighting for every single person down there. With one swift motion, he pulled the nose skyward, gathering altitude just as a laser beam shot through the air where his plane had been. The drone pilots were ruthless. They would not relent. As he climbed, the ancient cliff on his right presented itself like a natural fortress. He leaned into the turn, sending the aircraft skimming just above the rocky edge. He had hoped to evade their laser targeting, but they adapted quickly. More lasers pierced the air, this time below him, and he turned sharply left once more, pushing the throttle to its limits. The metal groaned under the strain. He could feel the control stick vibrating in his hands. It was a visceral reminder of the stakes. If he made even the slightest miscalculation. Adam did not let that thought finish. He focused. The flicker of uncertainty he had observed in the drones began to crystallize into a glimmer of hope. What if he could draw them into one specific area, force them into a mistake? In a bold move, Adam slammed the controls down, thrusting the nose of the aircraft closer to the ground in a tight spiral. It felt reckless, but he trusted his skill. He could feel every jolt, a quicksilver pulse of speed, as he aimed for a thicket of trees ahead. The drones hesitated, confused by his maneuver, and began to scatter slightly. Come on, use it! He urged himself, rising up and rolling his plane to perform a tight aerial loop. The world spun by him in a blur of colors, sky blue and forest green, and soon, the moment of truth arrived. He zoomed back into the fray where the drones had just begun to regroup. Everything inside him ignited. It was time to exploit their overconfidence. Adam activated the countermeasures. Smoke and flares shot out, creating chaos in the air. The drones collided as they struggled to recalibrate, their organized attack becoming a tornado of disarray. He spun around, delight flooding him as he witnessed the chaos. But then a jolt shot through him. One lone drone, clearly taking a path of vengeance, had broken free from the swarm's disarray and locked onto him. Not now, he murmured, panic flaring again. He shot forward, dodging to the side, but the relentless drone pursued. It was relentless, with one purpose. His fingers trembled on the controls. What if he ran out of options? What if a burst of light from the drone's weapon cut the air? Adam's heart raced as he made a split-second decision. He pushed the throttle to full speed, straight into the heart of the chaos. Would he evade this crushing blow, or was this his final flight in the name of the people below? He focused, trying to listen to that inner voice guiding him as he barreled toward the potential end. After all this, don't fail now, he whispered, ready to defy fate itself. But what would this next decision truly mean for him and for those counting on him? The future loomed ahead, uncertain but electrifying. Adam's heart pounded in his chest, drowning out the chaos around him. As he barreled closer, time seemed to ripple. The relentless drone, glinting menacingly, traced his movements with unnerving precision. He felt the weight of every decision pressing down on him, a suffocating reminder of why he fought. "Come on!" he urged himself, his breath coming in quick bursts. He searched for a lifeline, a way to outsmart the cold, metallic predator. His mind raced through every maneuver he practiced, each one clawing for dominance over the desperation rising within him. Suddenly, clarity struck. "The valley," he whispered, remembering the terrain below. It wasn't just an escape, it was an opportunity. He aimed for a narrow opening between two cliffs, a risky gamble where he could lose the drone in the jagged rock faces. With a fierce determination, he twisted the controls, sending his plane hurtling toward the crevice. The sound of his heart thundered in his ears as the ground rushed up to meet him. He could feel every ounce of air battering against the wings, pushing back like a living force, but there was no turning back now. The drone was relentless, but Adam had the terrain on his side. He squeezed through the rocky passage, narrowly avoiding the cliffs. Behind him, the drone miscalculated and crashed into the wall, the shriek of metal crumpling echoing behind him like a victory drum. "Gotcha!" Adam exhaled, relief flooding in, momentarily silencing the frantic beating of his heart. But this was no time to celebrate. He could still hear more drones buzzing above, their collective roar asserting their numbers. As he cleared the rocky canyon, he spotted the vast field beyond, a wide expanse where the drones would struggle more to coordinate. This is it, he thought, a renewed sense of purpose igniting his spirit. He could feel the warmth of the sun break through a layer of clouds, a beacon of hope guiding him forward. He leveled the plane and set his course. The field spread before him, and for a moment, he allowed himself the luxury of optimism. Each second counted now, and he had a strategy. Maybe he could lead them on a wild goose chase, drawing them deeper into a disengagement that could turn the tide in his favor. Fingers dancing over the controls, he danced with the plane, sending it into a sharp turn. The drones, sensing his maneuver, altered their formations. He saw flares explode in the sky, tendrils of smoke weaving like a tapestry against the backdrop of blue. "Let us see what you've got." His daring path led him ricocheting across the field, the landscape blurring into a swirl of colors. The remaining drones responded aggressively, their red lasers stitching the air with dangerous precision. He could never allow himself to corner, to become predictable. Every loop, every roll, felt like a part of a grand performance, a mix of skill and instinct. Adam felt the adrenaline wash over him, electrifying his senses. But in the back of his mind, doubt whispered. Could he sustain it? As he executed a daring climb, his mind flickered back to the people he fought for. Did they believe in him? Did they know that he was risking it all for their safety? Just as his confidence surged, the horizon shifted. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of a massive cloud forming, a new wave of drones descending fast. He swallowed hard, dread creeping in as he fought to steady his focus. "Not like this, not after all I've done," he muttered, defining resolve coursing through his veins. But the sheer scale of the approaching swarm felt like a mountain range in front of him, ominous and unrelenting. With his heart racing, Adam had only a heartbeat to decide: would he take one last risk to save everyone? Would he dive into the barrage created by this new force, or could he find another way to turn the tide? The moment felt monumental, and as instinct screamed at him to choose wisely, the final surge of the swarm inched closer, leaving him battling for both time and hope. The pulse of the swarm grew louder, a sinister symphony echoing across the expanse of sky. Adam took a long, steadying breath. His mind was racing, but he couldn't afford to panic now. The ground beneath him felt far away. This battle was up here, in the open air, against the strike force of steel. In one breath, adrenaline surged through his veins, and in the next, doubts slithered back in. Could he really outmaneuver 100 armed drones? He gritted his teeth and made a snap decision. Diving into the swarm was not an option. It would be a guaranteed disaster, a one-way ticket to defeat. Instead, he had to capitalize on the chaos, an idea crystallizing in his mind. If he could bring them into a tight formation, he might use their own numbers to his advantage. "Okay, let us do this." Adam said aloud as if the words could empower him. He began a sharp, diving turn, sending his plane into a tight corkscrew toward the horizon. The drones followed, their structures glinting against the sunlight, rising like a dark tide, seeking him out. The air crackled with tension as lasers crisscrossed like deadly threads. He banked left, then right, forcing the swarm into a tighter cluster. Each second felt monumental. His eyes darted, taking in the heavy throb of mechanical wings overwhelming the skies. As he pulled up, he remembered the flares he'd saved for this very moment. Now or never, he muttered, focusing the courage he felt toward his fingers. The flares launched from his aircraft, bright and bursting forth like fireworks. The brilliant colors ignited the sky, temporarily blinding the drones. A gasp escaped his lips as he saw the visibility shift before him. A chance cracked open in the veil of chaos. He seized the moment. With all his might, he wheeled the plane around. The drones were momentarily confused, flailing against each other, lost in the mist of light and smoke. Adam pressed the throttle forward, darting beyond the detangling mass, letting his instincts guide him. His heart raced with triumph. The first wave of drones was dangerously defeated, but he knew the battle wasn't done. Already, the next rush threatened, flickering crimson among the blue sky. They were back, relentless and angrier than ever. Come on, just a little more, he pleaded with himself as the roar of their engines reverberated around him. His thoughts flickered back to his family, the faces of those he fought for lighting a fire in his chest. The moment felt heavier now, the stakes impossibly high. Suddenly, a deep thrumming filled the cockpit. Something was wrong. Adam felt the controls shudder in his hands. The plane was losing altitude. He glanced at the dials rapidly dropping. A warning light flashed, and the reality sunk in. He was running out of fuel. No, no, no! He gripped the wheel tighter, fighting to keep control. His heart sank as he thought of what would happen if he crash-landed now. Would it all have been for nothing? But then he caught sight of the field below, the wide expanse he'd flown over earlier. If he could just make it there, perhaps he could land safely and assess the situation. Maybe he could still rebuild and fight back. With renewed determination, he aimed for the open space, trying to shake off the fatigue and fear that clawed at him. His pulse raced, thrumming against his resolve. What would happen next? If he failed to land safely, the end could come in a blink, but if he succeeded, a new chapter would begin. As the ground rushed toward him, the drones circled above, their lasers sounding against the air. Adam clenched his jaw. Would this battle lead to his salvation or his downfall? With adrenaline coursing through him, he focused on the landing, but the encroaching shadow of the drones loomed larger overhead. Where would this final descent take him? Would it be to safety or oblivion? The ground rushed up to meet him. Adam's mind was spinning, racing between the immediate dread of crashing and the hope of landing safely. He felt the shudder of the plane, the engines coughing as they struggled against the impending silence. Every flickering warning light taunted him, reminding him of the precious fuel lost. Just a little further, he urged himself, urging the plane closer to the field. He could barely see through the churning mass of clouds and fear. The swarming drones were above him now, a dark cloud of deadly intent, their lights flickering like angry fireflies. He fought to keep calm, focusing on the expanse of grass just beneath him. The field transformed into a landing strip in his mind, a ribbon of salvation. Adam breathed deep, centering himself. Adjusting his angle, he pulled back on the control stick, his heart pounding like a drum. With a jolt, the wheels touched the earth. The plane bounced up, a desperate dance between gravity and machine. His jaw clenched. He pulled back harder, fighting to keep the craft steady. "Stay down!" he shouted at the stubborn plane, feeling tears prick at the corners of his eyes. This was everything: family, hope, survival. The weight of it all bore down with crushing intensity. Finally, with a resounding thud, the plane skidded forward. It felt like an eternity, the world blurred for a breathtaking moment. Then, the tires caught. A sudden, jarring shudder reverberated through the cockpit. Adam fought to keep it steady, wrestling against the momentum until the plane finally came to a stop. He exhaled, the tension unraveling inside him. He was on the ground. He was safe. For now. But the sound of the engines overhead cut through his relief, reminding him that this battle wasn't over. Peeking out the cockpit window, he saw the swarms circling like vultures above, the drones casting sharp shadows against the sunlit field. They screeched, a terrifying reminder of their proximity. Adam scrambled to unbuckle his seatbelt, every inch of him screaming to get out and find cover. He leaped from the plane, adrenaline surging again as he hit the ground running. The grass was wet beneath his feet, and as he sprinted, each pulsing throb of the engines fueled a single thought: survive. In the distance, he spotted a clump of trees, a chance for refuge. Adam sprinted toward them, dodging the blades of death that shot through the air, each blast narrowly missing him. He could hear the whirring of the drones, their dark forms darting through the sky, hungry for his blood. The trees edged closer, branches reaching out like arms as if to promise safety. But it was just about escaping. He needed to find a way to fight back, to stand his ground against the swarm. Hope flared inside him, a blaze igniting against the cold despair of the encroaching shadows. Just as he reached the trunks, a thought pierced through the chaos. What if these drones weren't just programmed machines? What if there was a way to communicate, to reach the humanity buried beneath their steel? Adam pressed against the bark of the nearest tree, catching his breath as he glanced back toward the swirling mass silhouetted against the sun. Did he dare attempt a connection? What if the swarm held a truth he had yet to uncover? Conflicted, he took a deeper breath, the weight of it all settling on his shoulders once more. Was now the time to be brave, or would fear dictate his next steps? As the drone swirled, a shadow darted past him, unsettling the trees as he readied himself. The next move could change everything. Would he face his fears or let them govern him? The heart of the battle was throbbing, and this was just the beginning. What decision would he make next? Adam pressed against the ancient tree trunk, his breath quickening under the weight of uncertainty. The shadows of the drones encircled him like a pack of wolves. They were relentless, but he couldn't let fear paralyze him. He had to fight or dare to negotiate. For Lily. For everyone watching. His thoughts raced as the drones whirred in overhead patterns. The realization hit him, perhaps deep down, they were driven by something more than algorithms. What if their program could be overridden? What do I have to lose? He whispered to himself, a surge of courage igniting within him. He took a deep breath, focused on the drone swarm looming above, and raised his voice. Can you hear me? I want to talk. The drones froze for a moment, a flicker of hesitation rippled through their circuit-like movements. For the first time, Adam saw potential in them, not as enemies but as allies in the face of progress. If they were programmed to adapt, perhaps they could be reasoned with. But how? His mind scrambled for a plan. He remembered the flares and smoke bombs devices he had used to create chaos. What if he could repurpose them to communicate? He quickly searched through his flying gear, adrenaline and purpose coursing through him. He found them, the flares and a small transmitter. Opening the flare case, he set to work. One by one, he connected the wires to ignite a brilliant spectacle. He needed to make a statement that transcended conflict, a plea for unity among man and machine. The threads of smoke swirled upward as he lit the first flare. It shot into the sky, a rainbow-colored burst illuminating the gathering storm clouds. A second flare followed. The drones hovered, their movements pausing, scanning the spectacle. Adam's heart pounded, but he could feel a shift, a chance to forge understanding. Look! Pay attention! He shouted, pushing away the panic clawing at him. We're not enemies. Let us work together. A cacophony of beeps and whirs erupted as the drones began to move erratically. His heart raced with every pulse. Were they responding? The leading drones shifted in the air, breaking from their regimented formations, swirling around the flares. Adam's pulse quickened. It was an undeniable sign communication was stirring. He had to keep pushing. This isn't just a game, this is our future. Let us change the narrative. With gleaming eyes reflecting the flare's glow, the drones transformed before him. They pulsed in vibrant colors, shifting formations into intricate shapes, dancing around the columns of smoke. Adam's heart soared as he realized that behind the cold metal, there might still be a spark of intelligence destined to emerge into harmony. From the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of the crowd, a sea of faces brightening as they witnessed this peculiar dance. Gasps of awe rippled through them. They saw humanity reflected in Adam's actions, a shared longing for connection. The drones began to form an arch, a symbol of cooperation in the skies above. As they settled into the newly formed configuration, Adam's heart filled with hope. He had transformed a moment of despair into a beacon of unity. The final flare tripled the explosion of colors overhead, a celebration of reckoning, an invitation for the world to join arms with technology rather than fight against it. The once menacing swarm became a dance partner, twirling in harmonious synchrony, a flight of fancy instead of a battlefield. He turned toward the crowd. This is what flying should always be, a blend of the human spirit and technological advancement. Gasps of wonder blended with applause as the realization hit them. He wasn't just reclaiming his legacy, he was rewriting the future. Adam extended his arms, embracing the warmth of possibility. This was everything the heart of community. Be it man or machine, each had a place in the sky. Together, they would engineer a brighter tomorrow. As the cheers from Maplewood erupted, the electric feeling danced around him. Lily rushed toward him, pride shining brighter than all the flares in the sky. "You did it, Dad! You showed them!" she exclaimed, her face radiant. Adam's heart swelled. "No, we did it, Lily. Together." And as the sun set behind the horizon, bathing the field in gold, a pact formed between them and the drones, a promise for collaboration, innovation, and respect for the human experience. In that poignant moment, Adam understood he had emerged not as a solitary pilot but as a leader of a world that embraced progress, where flying would forever be more than just an act, it would be a shared joy. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this wild ride. And don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Every action counts.